Alrighty folks, I have a game for you. I was spectating this one. It's between Weak1ings and Damakra. Weak1ings starting in the north with Master Archers. Damakra going for a Dryad pick. A little unconventional against Frost, I'd say, but should all work out. We'll see how the players are going to go for it. I think both these players tend to not be super aggressive in Tier 1, so we might see a little bit of a passive Tier 1 from both of them as they kind of avoid engaging. We'll see. So far that seems to be true. Damakra and Weak1ings both content to just hold their sides of the board and well up. Damakra might be going for the early Tier 2. Certainly the way he's moving. And Weak1ings, is he going to hold Tier 1 or also run Tier 2? Looks like Weak1ings does not want to take the +1. He wants to take an extra well. Personally, I think this is actually holdable +1. As Frost, I think Frost has pretty good ability to deal with Burrower Spam, which would be Damakra's main option here. But I could be wrong, I don't play that much Frost. So far, fairly low well counts, and we're into straight Tier 2. Damakra going with an early Burrower, and we're going to see that Weak1ings has decided to, I would say, waste an Ice Guardian. Yeah, personally, I would have just waited a second and hit it with a War Eagle or a Storm Singer or something, but Weak1ings decided to play the Ice Guardian. Now we've got the Storm Singer up top, and that will pretty easily trade with the Burrower. That Burrower's not going to get anything done there, I think. And so Damakra has wasted his, oh, there we go, there's the War Eagle. Damakra's wasted his Dryad, and in return he's got Weak1ings to bind a unit at the bottom. So Weak1ings should have some pretty serious tempo to go for a push here. It is Stonekin, of course, so you can never be sure. Looks like Weak1ings wants to go for this trade, perhaps. And he's making a second Eagle, and meanwhile Damakra has played nothing. There we go, Razor Shard. That's going to die pretty fast to the Eagle. And it looks like Weak1ings actually wants to go on a double pronged attack rather than single pronged. Aggressor is going to be a good option to deal with the War Eagle. But Damakra is defending on this side, and looks like he is killing the Eagle as well. Oh, this Ice Guardian is living. Although, I'm not sure the Master Archers are running back. This Eagle is getting away, but Damakra has defended. Strong Aggressor versus, I see no screen. Okay, he's trying to run away from the Aggressor. Yes, Aggressor is difficult for Frost to deal with, I'd say, because the War Eagles are kind of slow, so it's not that easy to maneuver, and Frost doesn't necessarily have that great of a burst tools. There we go, nice heal from Damakra. This Storm Singer didn't need to run away, could have kept trading. And so far Weak1ings' attack was pretty easily defended, it looks like. Burrower up here, easily taken care of by the Storm Singer. So far nobody's attack has panned out. I do want to note that Weak1ings I think is pretty rusty. I haven't seen Weak1ings, I don't think I've seen that at all in the last couple months. So this may be his first day back. So we don't want to judge him too harshly for that. And Damakra, on the other hand, is an up-and-comer. He's been playing, I've seen him several times in the last couple months, and he's been improving steadily every time. Damakra goes for the +1, and it looks like Weak1ings is going there to take it as well. He might be going for the triple spot. He is. Personally, I don't think that really makes a difference. I think by the time you take all those power well spots available, that it should be Tier 3. But I guess Weak1ings wanted to have an extra well he could take in the future. Meanwhile, the Aggressor is binding a lot of power and is not going to be offensively very dangerous. It will of course stop War Eagles, but we'll see what Weak1ings has. This Crystal Fiend I think can be really annoying for Weak1ings to deal with. Small micro mistake there. I think Weak1ings should have just targeted that Storm Singer and killed him out. Aggressor chasing the War Eagle. That is a good trade for Weak1ings. Oh, there we go. Light Blade to hard counter the Aggressor. and with that, the War Eagle should be able to mop this up pretty easily. I would... interesting. The trades here are... Weaklings is not focusing very well, I would say. And both players are clustering up to have some powerful CCs come up. Weaklings has decided to save his Storm Singers instead of the War Eagle, which I think is probably fine, just because of the number of units that could be held there. Weaklings has enough power, he could try and keep going for that War Eagle, but this is actually looking fairly dangerous. Is he going to be able to kill this? He is with the Orb Shot. So I think Weaklings, what he should do right now is just try and focus for the Storm Singers, and once he's got more units on the field, then the aggressor won't be so dangerous. You see the freeze, only catching one unit, so not that useful. And meanwhile, Damakra is still trading well, so both players trading well. We see a Crystal Fiend coming out for a second attempt. Personally, I wonder if the unit count is maybe too low for the Crystal Fiend to be getting enough value, but we'll see. We also see the Dazed Burrower. I would not recommend that personally. I think it'll die too fast. And there we go. With the Frostbite it dies, and it looks like Weaklings will be able to clean up these with the Orb Shot. You could kill them, but it looks like he's not microing quite well enough for that. Damakra's coming in with another Burrower, and now is the point where the Crystal Fiend is starting to pull in some hits. We see a North Star, that's the Weakling special, and it gives up. Damakra tried to focus it down, but not in time. And meanwhile, the huge freeze coming through. A little bit of imperfect focus fire, but with North Star's insane damage potential, Orb should focus this one. With the North Guard's insane, the heal could save this, but it looks like Damakra's being a little bit greedy. Yeah, Orb Shot could kill him, but yeah, I would say Weaklings is holding this without that aggressor to knock things back, and the War Eagle can now come to swoop things up. Yeah, North Star is super powerful defensive card. And now it's Weaklings' time to push. Damakra going all the way back, I'm not sure that's necessary. I think you can just kind of hold in a cup around here, especially because the Crystal Fiend is going to allow good trading patterns. And the Burrower now goes for a split attack. Meanwhile, Weaklings takes the +1, and Damakra goes tier 2. Tier 3, sorry. That feels quite early to me for tier 3, especially considering that Damakra has so many units bound in tier 1, tier 2. Good micro from Weaklings to slow this guy down, and the screen kicked one out too. So Weaklings is doing very good micro. It is going to be tough to hold tier 2 versus tier 3. On the other hand, Weaklings has Lightblade, which is great against Tremors, and Weaklings has the +1. You see the freeze coming down, and you see Silver One Lancers coming to try and get something done. And you see another Tremor coming up at the top. This base is defended, and we go for the Tremor over here with the Lightblade. This one Stormsinger is not going to do anything against the Razor Shard. Meanwhile, we've got more Tremors on top here. Yeah, this is one of the problems with Frost. War Eagles are strong, but they have to move around. This Crystal Fiend is definitely out of position, and Weakling just killing him out. And it looks like this is going to survive, actually. Weakling should definitely repair that. He's low on power. Oh, and the repair does come through. Meanwhile, Weakling's units are all on this side of the board, so if Damakra was able to get like a Silver Wind out here, that would be pretty annoying. Weaklings has a lot of power bound in these Lyrish Knights. I'm not personally such a fan of this, but let's see how it goes. Nice Glacier. I would suspect that one of these is dropping them. Lightblade pulling away one of the Tremors. And Weaklings is not focused firing very intentionally. Heals can be really powerful in this situation. Yeah. Very good oink from Damakra. And so Damakra has earned his tier 3 back. On the other hand, Weaklings has Has the well paid off? The well is not quite paid off yet. This tremor, sorry, the light blade still hitting this tremor over here. Okay, there we go. Going for a little bit of a spread out. The heal's still going to be very powerful. And we see the Silver One Lancers being defended by a War Eagle. And Weaklings should be able to defend this with Kobold. He did not. But Weaklings now has the tempo. These Yrmia could run back a little bit, let the Eagle take care of it. And the Stormsinger come over here to intercept those Yrmia, those Metalworkers, the Silver One Lancers. So it looks like Damakra's tier 3 was not too early after all. To be fair, Weaklings has bound up a lot of power in these defensive buildings, although Tremors trying to attack into them is not going to get very far, I'd say. Personally, I think the most convincing way for Damakra to push this would actually be to take an additional well, or to harass this side. I think attacking into the North Stars is just throwing units away. And keep in mind, they do bind power, so it's not like Damakra has a clock or anything, right? Like, a lot of times what happens is that one player takes up a tier, and then they've got a kind of clock to prove their push, but Damakra has proved their push, and he's not really in any particular rush, I'd say. He can take it kind of slow. Weaklings has a lot of power bound on the board, which, if it eventually gets to Damakra's base, is going to be terrifying. So I would say that's the other thing Damakra should be doing, is trying to get rid of those. So playing something like a Spirit Hunter, or actually I don't know what is there. Spirit Hunters and Stormsingers, yeah, actually. Damakra might not have a good way to deal with that, besides forcing out trades. So this orb is looking very scary. It might be dropping. And so you might think this is the game, although of course you can see there's still quite a lot left. Weaklings is in a bad spot, no two ways about that, but he has a ton of power bound, and when those Eagles eventually come to Damakra's base, they're going to be difficult to handle. Damakra is hovering around in this area to prevent Weaklings going tier 3. How much power does Weaklings have? Well, Weaklings does not have near enough power for that to be viable. However, he does have a tier 2 spot, so he's getting his tier 2 back, so Damakra is not going to be able to put the final nail in Weakling's coffin yet. Instead, as Damakra continues to try and trade, he is letting Weakling's tier 2 army grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, that is a great way to deal with War Eagles, so I approve of this idea. Although we might see, oh, actually the Timeless one is gone, so it's not going to be so successful anymore. Weaklings is playing more and more War Eagles, and now we're seeing the tempo begin to shift. One thing that's important to note is that Damakra went Nature, Frost, Frost, so if Weaklings is able to rust this Nature Orb, Damakra is essentially completely out of the game, because he can play like Stormsinger, and that's pretty much the only card he can play. Weaklings has 6 Eagles. They're pulling back. I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, I'm not real sure why he's deciding to pull back. I guess he's afraid of the Timeless one and Stone Warrior combo, which, fair, is a scary combo. Weaklings is still waiting, going for more power. He's going for a nice cold snap. There we go. And we'll probably see a counter link. Good use of these Eagles moving away. This time this is going to get a hit in, but not if Weaklings can knock it back. Screech coming out. Is the freeze coming through? The freeze does come through, so that's going to be pretty devastating when that attack comes out. I would have made a Light Blade personally. Oh, actually he's got two Stone Warriors, so one Light Blade wouldn't have done it. Never mind, I agree with the choice to keep making more Eagles. And clearly Weaklings is making some right choices, because it looks bad for him now, but he is, 15 minutes left in the game, to be honest. Healing up the Eagles, playing this patient. And it looks like he's going to go for this orb. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I would really recommend going for this orb. Well, it's kind of tough because the Stone Warrior's here. I don't know if it's a good idea to try and kill them while they're low health, or if it's more scary because of the Timeless One potential. But I would say if you kill this orb, you win the game right now, right? Like, this orb is dropping, actually, for sure. if he can stop the timeless one, but even if not, just like a home soil, this is just getting erased. There's just so much damage here. Nice War Eagle. Actually, I think it missed, but there we go, yeah. So that's just getting erased. So now Damakra is back to tier 2, and he still has to deal with this huge army. So, very scary. And Damakra has no freeze, so the Stone Warrior ability is not going to be that good. Weakling's still not using his power, and Damakra's going back to his tier 3. I'd really like to see Damakra or Weaklings put another ice barrier here. Oh, Weaklings goes tier 3. I don't know about that one actually. Well, the War Eagles can hammer down on the aggressor, and Damakra goes on the offensive here. But yeah, if we got a home soil, like I think we could potentially see this whole base just melting again, just like the other one. And then Weaklings is back with a critical. Yeah, okay, these Eagles are close enough. So is this base dropping? It is dropping. And if we get a home soil, we could take out that aggressor. Meanwhile, the Silverlines are probably taking this base. It looks like Weaklings doesn't see it or doesn't have the power. He does have the power. Can he Kobold Trick in time? He does not. But it's still this huge army which Damakra was not able to withstand in tier 3, so he's back to tier 2. Maybe not able to stand either. And Weaklings is actually tier 3. So it looks like we have a huge reversal right here. Although do keep in mind that Weaklings has a ton of power bound. And Damakra goes back to tier 3. So we'll see how much Weaklings is mopping up right now. Aggressors are viable strat, let's say. Especially when they're clumped up like this, they can stop a lot of Eagles. And Weaklings is going straight for this orb here. But Damakra, I'm guessing, has a lot of power. Oh, he doesn't actually. He doesn't have that much power because he's got the power bound in the aggressors. But looks like the aggressors are going to take out the War Eagles. And I think Weaklings going for wells right now is kind of like 2 small potatoes, let's say. Oh, but if he kicks this, almost. Neither of these players, it seems, are running shield building. So that, yeah. Look at that, Weaklings pushes again.
A monument has been destroyed.
Damakra is on the run. Weaklings is now tier 3 versus Damakra's tier 2. And Weaklings still has a bunch of Eagles that are not able to be stopped. Keep in mind, Damakra has had a lot more power for a lot longer. And you can see with his Void, he's getting tons of power in the back, whereas Weaklings is still kind of slow. And it looks like these Stone Warriors may be difficult, although of course there's the North Star, so those should be able to be frozen and die fairly easily. These guys should get back in the fight, and this is actually not dropping. Very close, but not quite. There's a timeless one, and he's decided to put these guys on defense instead of offense. And as long as Weaklings can keep Damakra at tier 2, this should be in Weaklings' pocket. Of course, again, we see the game's not over yet, so let's see what kind of comeback Damakra can make. Weaklings has still played, I think, 2 tier 3 units. Well, he played the Silver One. He's played a Silver One, Timeless, and Tremor. And I just think only one of each. And Damakra is going back with his tier 3. Now, again, Weaklings needs to be careful, right? Because as long as Damakra gets back to tier 3, the game's not over. Because Damakra has had so much power for so much longer. It doesn't really matter that Weaklings killed like 3 wells in the last minute or so. And Weaklings takes a well. Okay, Weaklings thinks this game's going to take longer. He wants to win in a war of attrition rather than just fighting tier 3. As a fire splash player, I don't agree with that. I don't know what the ice barrier is for. It looks like these Silver One Lancers are coming to attack here. Weaklings can counter with the Silver One to zone. And we see Timeless versus Timeless. North Star is going to be very effective at trading well here. Timeless, that should eat up these guys. And we see the Stone Warrior going to wipe out everything. That's kind of fine for Weaklings because he's tier 3 now, so he doesn't necessarily want to have a bunch of leftover units in tier 2, despite how strong even if those units are War Eagles. And Weaklings goes for a push on the side here too. All these units and get the freeze, and yeah, they just take this North Star takes so much damage. Weaklings is getting power now. He's still not using it. 200, and he could play 2 Tremors here. We've seen that neither player's running shield building, it looks like, so 2 Tremors would probably kick the base. Weaklings he's got so much power, he just needs to use it. I don't know what he's saving for. Meanwhile, Damakra's got the aggressor binding a lot of power in tier 1 and knocking all these units around. But with the North Star, just the damage against frozen units is so high, I don't see that attack going through. Damakra's trying to make something happen with the Tremor, although again, keep in mind he's tracking into the North Star. And we see that the original wells have dropped, so we've now got Damakra with 2 wells, Weaklings at 1 well. And this could very well drop. And this actually is getting surprisingly low. Weaklings needs to protect it. He decides to use a Glacier instead of a Kobold, possibly because Kobold is running low on charges. And this orb has dropped. So Weaklings is in a great spot again. It looks like he is probably losing this orb, to be fair. He has the power to freeze, but he is deciding not to. I guess he just wants to wait till Timeless, being a little bit greedy, and his orb falls. Weaklings can take an orb back here. Looks like he killed, I think he killed his own Timeless just for the tempo. But I'd expect to see that Damakra is taking this orb when Weaklings gets the power to take that orb. And Weaklings' power is about, well, tons of units on the field, so it's kind of hard to count the Void. But Damakra has a huge amount of Void, more than Weaklings, despite having kind of similar units on the field. Weaklings definitely has more bound in the field, but that's just by virtue of Damakra having so much more power for such a long part of the game. Plus Weaklings having 80 power bound in these 2 North Stars. There's an army of Timeless Ones, which don't necessarily do that much stacked together, and I think this Crystal Fiend is going to prevent people from dying unless Weaklings focus fires really well. And it looks like Damakra is going for the tier 3 again. Unless Weaklings is running Shatter, what's it called, Ice Shard or something, Weaklings decides to let him go tier 3, never comes back, probably misclick. And Weaklings is trying to push here. I don't foresee this push going. I think just both players have too many defensive units, but as long as Weaklings can prevent Damakra from going tier 3, he should have a good tempo. Damakra has invested a heal just to keep that ground presence, although the Stormsinger is frostbitten. So I think Weaklings is going to continue to lock Damakra out of this tier 3 position. And both players are on 1 well apiece. So the power gained is going to be pretty low, although of course there is lots of Void power still in the game. Although when we're relying on Void, again, Damakra has a lot more than Weaklings, so this game is a little bit on a clock for Weaklings. But as I said, as long as he can keep Damakra tier 2, I don't think there's much that tier 2 Stone can do to threaten Frost tier 3. Weaklings is about 300 power. He's finally played Core Dredge. Maybe that's what he was saving up power for so long, because he wanted a Core Dredge. And it looks like Damakra is finally able to get his tier 3 back, which puts Weaklings on, again, a bit of a timer. Weaklings going for the trades rather than trying to siege up. That's, I mean, fine, I guess. Core Dredge oinked. Good move from Damakra. Weaklings needs to play a Tremor here, I'd say. And he's played the Tremor there, where he can get hit by the Timeless One. Weaklings has his own Timeless One, and Damakra going for a little bit of bullying with the Burrower. Razor Shard's bot time, although it is tagged to Silver Lancers now, and Weaklings is using his special moving the Core Dredge around to hit by that Tremor killing the Aggressor. That's not a fight you see every day. Meanwhile, the Burrower is hitting Weaklings' Monument. You see a Timeless One in response. I don't think the freeze was necessary, actually just hitting it normally would have killed the Burrower, but it still works, it's only 10 power. And Weaklings is clearly misclicked something, because the units are hitting his orb unimpeded. And now we've realized something. I think it was right about now when I realized in the chat that there's 6 minutes left in the game. Damakra is getting overrun to some extent, but his score is much higher than Weakling's score. And if we might want to see an ice shield here to keep the Core Dredge alive. Is Weakling's gonna ice shield? Not yet. So this Tremor uses his ability. There it goes. Orb falls. Very good. So yeah, Weaklings is pushed Damakra back to tier 2, but he's got 6 minutes to overrun him. So I think that Core Dredge needs to be using ice shield. Weaklings needs to be on full offensive right now. It's not good enough just to eventually trade and win, right? Because of right? Really trying to kill that Core Dredge, and Weaklings really wants to save it and heal it up. Yeah, again, my personal feelings are that the Eirias shield healing up is too slow, and Weaklings needs to push hard and end this match right now. Meanwhile, Damakra's leftover units are coming in. I think this core dredge is toast, but maybe he can get around and get another nice ice barrier. Very good freeze. Core dredge should take care of everything pretty easily, although of course one Tremor did miss the freeze. And we're seeing Light Blade. Light Blade is dazed, so it won't do anything against the Tremor yet. Another Tremor, the core dredge. Light Blade to take care of the Tremor. And Weaklings is defending Damakra's counter push, although that's good for Damakra, right? Because as long as Weaklings is defending, that means he's not attacking. Damakra now has 4.5 minutes he has to survive. Not impossible, but I think it's going to come down to the wire. You should also note Damakra has tons and tons of power because of Wall's Void finally coming back, which means that if Damakra can tie down Weaklings' units here and squeak to tier 2, see if Weaklings put an ice barrier here, this would be a different story, but Damakra is getting his tier 3 back again. Now Weaklings really has to push, I'd say. Keeping the Light Blade around, normally I would say to kill it, but I think Light Blade is really good against the stuff that Damakra is playing, so I think it actually is a good unit. You know, when aggressor tries to be defended, you just pull the aggressor away. And Weaklings is going for this orb. Again, I think going for this orb is the best, because if this orb is dead, then Damakra can only play Stormsingers. So that's one of the advantages that a pure deck has over a splash deck, right? Because it doesn't matter which of Weaklings' orbs you kill, Weaklings is still going to be tier 3, or tier 2, right? But if you kill the wrong orb from Damakra, Damakra goes back to like tier 1.5, or potentially even less, right? Because, okay, this core dredge is healed, it needs to get a move on. Weaklings has 3 minutes to make something count. Damakra is back to tier 3 with a lot of power, although of course this core dredge is not cheap. And Damakra is holding this side. That freeze was not doing anything, but Damakra is even pushing a little bit. Pushing is good. Best offense is good defense. Maybe not the best long-term offense, but short-term. And Weaklings is doing his best to push this out. Weaklings is making good trades, so I think this is in Weaklings' pocket at some point. The question really comes down to, can Weaklings finish him off in the next 2.5 minutes? Or can Damakra hold? And I think this is great stalling tactics, right? You have the fight away from your base, Damakra. That means that once Weaklings defends, which he will, but once that's defended, then he's got to come back to your base. Timeless one, great stalling tactic. It's also weird because the power level is so low. I mean, it's not that low because there's always Void, but the actual wells, each player has only one well apiece. This core dredge is hammering away. Damakra does have building protects. It seems he's not choosing to use them. He's instead going for Stone Warriors, and there we go, there's a building protect. And the core dredge is retreating. Weaklings didn't have power for an area ice shield. Ooh, if that freeze, there we go, hit both of them. Now Weaklings can do a special worm move around and hit that orb. He's going for the North Star. I think the North Star is just too slow, yeah. Weaklings has 1.5 minutes to finish Damakra. And, you know, it's going to be tight. The other thing he could do, he could go for orb pushing. Orb pushing is, for those of you who don't know, I'm hoping there's a lot of new players here who are not familiar with all the little intricacies and details. But what's going on here is that when this time runs out, the player with the most score, which is Damakra right now, wins. And score is determined by the amount of power you play. And then the little subtlety is that when you cancel an orb, you get most of your power back. So not all of it. So in the long term, canceling your orb is a really bad idea. But in the short term, the fastest way to push your score, we call it score pushing, is to build and kill your own orb. And you can like bump your score by 75 power every like 5 seconds. So if Weaklings had started doing that maybe a minute ago, he may be able to get a score up by another 1,000 or 2. But at this point, it's not an option. Damakra's pulling ahead, and he's got 20 seconds to live. I think Damakra's going to survive those 20 seconds and win on score. So yeah, that's a nail biter. This game just went back and forth. Well played from both players. Not the best played, I think, but Damakra's new and Weaklings is rusty, and I think certainly an exciting game and certainly more fun to have it go this way. So there we go. Damakra wins on score with an excellent timeout, and it wasn't one of those games that just grinded away slowly. It was back and forth, and in the end, Damakra won on the score by virtue of having more Powerballs. So thank you guys for watching. Hope this was as exciting for you as it was for me, and I'm glad we see some new blood in the game. Good game, Damakra.